Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my new podcast, affectionately called Human. Now, Human is a lifestyle podcast where I will cover everything from one of my favorite topics. Yes, you guessed it, all things human resources and humans. We also are going to dive into the world of benefits and compensation, payroll and HRIS, mental, physical, and financial well-being, corporate America, entrepreneurship, consulting, career and executive coaching and mentoring, a little bit of DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, some workplace and social event planning, and much, much more. We also can't forget about my give back to HR. Yes, you guessed it, my book, HR, Where's Your Freaking Sense of Humor? I am also excited about the opportunity to invite you to join me and my freaking amazing guests virtually or in studio or even both, depending on the topic. Now, before we get started with our interview today, let me take a few moments to share the big why behind my podcast and my even bigger ask from you. You see, this is my give back to the community that gave to me. My objective is to pour relevant and helpful insight into the HR and professional community so that you, the community, can continue to pour into other incredible humans. And the cherry on top is that I get to spend time with some freaking amazing humans like our guest today, along with our lifetime friends from around the world. So what is my big ask, you say? You guessed it, please click, like, share, subscribe to all my socials, which will be shared during my podcast. So now that we have the important why and my ask out of the way, please join me in welcoming my freaking amazing guest, my friend, Breia Foston, CEO of Worldview Benefits Advisors. Now, you may recall that Briea joined me on my first episode of Human to help me celebrate my podcast debut. You see, our friendship spans over 10 years, and it was only fitting that we come to you live from the Human Studios to talk shop on both our favorite topics. Yes, once again, you guys know everything. You guessed it, humans and benefits. Briea, welcome to our episode titled Benefits Beyond Borders and Empowerment Through Entrepreneurship. So, I am just so excited to have you here today.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Carol.
Oh, thank you for making the trip.
Being here in studio. This is great, and kudos to you. Hats off. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for making the trip. Briea came all the way, y'all, from Houston, left behind that princess and that amazing husband just to spend some time with me today, so I feel privileged and honored.
Yes.
So, what we're going to do is I'm going to have a series of questions for Briea so that my human audience, you, can get to know her as well as I know her today. Does that sound fair?
That sounds amazing.
All right. Well, then let's get started if you're okay.
That sounds great.
So, in my book, HR, Where's Your Freaking Sense of Humor? I asked the burning question, did HR choose you or did you choose HR? So can you help me with that question today, Briea, and share with our audience and the entire benefits in HR world a little bit about you and all of you that you've accomplished?
So without a doubt, it's the former. HR definitely chose me, and I, interestingly enough, at a career fair during my senior year at my university that I attended, shout out to the Baylor Bears, Sikkim Bears. I was at a career fair. There were 100+ companies that were represented there. I had my list of the companies I wanted to target and drop off my resume with and who I was seeking to gain employment with. And I had made my rounds. I was just about to leave, and then there was a company at the very end that I hadn't yet, went up to and spoke to, they had some warm and inviting faces. So I went over and chatted with them. And then that led to me being brought into their Houston office, which is my hometown, to come in for some interviews. That company was called Employee Benefits Solutions, or EBS, which is where Carol and I had our crossroads and first met. Our paths crossed there. But this company, specialized in HR consulting, human capital consulting, and employee benefits. And so when I went in to do my interview, I was interviewing for a U.S. domestic consulting-based role that supported their health and welfare division. But little did I know this company had specialty practice areas, one of which was the global solutions practice. And so they saw on my resume that I had studied abroad in Spain while I was in college, that I obtained my minor in Spanish. So they said, okay, well, this young lady seems to have a love of learning and international cultures. And so we should probably go ahead and have her be a better fit on the line with the global solutions practice. So needless to say, I was, positioned for that role and haven't looked back since. In the 15 years of my career, global benefits consulting is what I've done from the start of my career, and engaging with multinational companies across various regions and industries with their global assignee populations.
Oh, that is amazing. And so I actually was honored to meet you on your journey.
Yes.
There's little things that you don't know about some people, and then you kind of get the full story, but that's amazing. Yes, we started together at Employee Benefits Solutions, then it transitioned to another name and Send, and then it went on to Epic, but we all stayed together. So I'm so happy that you got chosen and you chose. It's equally important, right? And then what I really love is how they leaned in on your love for international and global travel. And so some companies, that's how we look at competencies, right? That's what it's about today in HR. It's not simply just about people's skills and experiences in the workforce, but looking at the holistic person, because those skills are transferable and definitely can help people either enter their career or even reinvent themselves in their career. So bravo.
Thank you.
So now it's so funny when we talk about global benefits and global travel. We have so many stories. Once you broaden and leave domestic and stretch your wings or spread your wings, then all of a sudden the world opens up to you, definitely. And so just traveling global can give you so many stories that I'm telling you, some of those are those stories that you'll never forget. I don't know about you.
Yes, absolutely. I have an appreciation of learning about different cultures, different backgrounds. I think it's something that helps us as individuals just be a little bit more empathetic, have a well-rounded outlook in life. And so in 2018, I had the opportunity to travel to South Africa. It was a personal trip, travel with a group. My husband came along, my mom was there as well, and we specifically traveled to Johannesburg and Cape Town. It was a very personal and beautiful experience. During that trip, I was able to take on some safari tours we went on and saw some wildlife, some were a little too up close and personal, but close enough. I got to learn about the life and the legacy and the impact of Nelson Mandela. But then there was a trip we took right outside of Johannesburg to this little town called Kliptown. And in that town, they have this Kliptown Youth Center that's an educational enrichment program for the youth that are there in the surrounding areas, and they teach them and provide arts outlets and athletics for them. And it's interesting because in that trip at that moment we were there to provide a donation to help that program, but what ended up happening is those individuals that were there poured back into us. On our way to the center, we had to walk through some shanties, which are essentially huts in the dirt, and as we're approaching this center, we're greeted with these beautiful smiling faces of these young children that were full of life and were so excited and so joyful. And it just helped me at that moment just kind of to reset and think about my own perspectives in life and to lean into having more gratitude and appreciation. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful trip. And their tagline for that youth center is from poverty to opportunity.
Oh, excellent.
And so again, just again, having that framework of thinking through, we can get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and the day-to-day grind. But at the end of the day, sometimes the things that we have and we're afforded to have, I think sometimes it's a good reminder.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of from a personal side. From a professional standpoint, I learned on that trip about the business side and the need for travel insurance and protecting your trips, and having adequate health insurance and having immunizations before you travel abroad. In a lot of countries, unfortunately, there's certain, diseases and things that are still going around, and so you need to protect yourself. And so there was a person that actually became very ill. They didn't take on the recommended immunizations, and so they did have to go to the hospital, get emergency medication that they had to pay for out of pocket. But if they would have had some travel insurance, that would have helped to close that gap. Also, right before that trip, a group of people that year before, we went to Dubai. Someone actually got injured doing a very serious ATV accident. They also did not have travel insurance and needed to have a GoFundMe set up to take care of all of the medical expenses and that burden. So now with my company, Worldview Benefits Advisors, that's a component that we offer to clients. Travel insurance is very important. You want to get excited about going on these trips, but you want to protect them at the same time. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. We don't want to take the fun out of it, but there's the preparation.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you, speaking of insurance, I have this story too. I had the honor and the privilege when I was in oil and gas to travel to Jakarta, Indonesia.
Okay.
And let me tell you, when I told people, they were like, where are you going and what are you doing? What are you doing? But I do remember before going, we had to have the proper immunization, but we also, it was about 35, 40 HR leaders, and we all were meeting in Jakarta. And so we landed, we got there. It was a little interesting once we got there to get to our hotel. There were some heightened alerts regarding travel advisories.
Absolutely.
But we got to this beautiful, immaculate hotel, and we did our HR meetings, we talked strategy, we did some networking, and then they said, that gear that we told you to pack that kind of resembled hiking equipment, well, we are about to transition to our HR team building. And we were like, okay, and they load us on a bus. We all get on a bus and we travel, and we're wheels on the bus go round and round, and we're on the bus for an hour, another hour, and before we know it, we pop into the jungles of Jakarta. Now we're in the jungles of Jakarta, and they open the bus and they say, get out, and we are like, where are we going to stay? Where's the hotel? And they're like, here is the 40 tents that we've pitched for you in the middle of the jungle, but don't worry, we have outdoor showers, we have places for you to eat. So for almost 3 days, we were in the jungles of Jakarta.
Oh my goodness.
MacGyver style team building, going from tree to tree, building straws in order to get things out of trees. And then the next thing we know, they're like, cross this lake, but you got to build your own boat. And then finally, the final thing was rafting down this we're in a raft, and it's going down. It's just a mess. And I was like, first of all, this life jacket, what about if you can't swim? And I was like, all I was thinking, is there insurance? And everybody was like, is there insurance for this? But we made it. It was a beautiful, beautiful trip.
Sure.
And I'm so glad that you all experienced your side of, what's really important is, like you said, and it brought you joy. But anyway, those are our funny stories, y'all.
Fun times.
We can tell those all the time. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next question.
Okay.
So can you share your a little bit about your journey of becoming an entrepreneur and the CEO of Worldview Benefit Advisors, along with some key career milestones and some of the revelations that you've experienced?
Yes, I love that question because it's absolutely been a journey. And when I think about that journey, it's been an enlightening one, very empowering, challenging, and rewarding all at the same time. My career up until this point has definitely prepared me for this time of owning and operating my own benefits consulting firm. And over time, I had, definitely natural career career progression. But when I think about just joining, that firm that I mentioned at the start as an associate entry-level position, that was important for me to get all of my technical skills, my foundational, kind of baseline, to learn about, global benefits and having all of that expertise and knowledge. But as my career progressed, I was able to move in from a, junior position into more senior roles that allowed me to have not only added responsibility, but I was able to get aligned to some pretty unique projects. One of which is super noteworthy for me that I was super proud of was being able to lead and help to redesign a global benefits technology platform for the world's largest independent broker network that has, benefits and property and casualty insurance colleagues, 1,000 plus, over 150 firms in 100 plus countries worldwide. And that was one of the first times that I gave feedback on something that I did not see that was going well. And I was told, okay, well, you have this problem. Do you want to present a solution? And then why don't you go ahead and lead the charge on it? And I was so grateful to have that opportunity. I didn't have a lot of technological experience or systems, but it didn't matter. I just saw a need and try to figure out a way of how that could be fulfilled. And so that gave me great visibility, and it gave me a lot of insight into stretching myself beyond ways that I didn't even think were possible. Fast forward, I was looking for more additional development opportunities, specifically managerial. And so that led me into a decision to transition into a leadership role. And at that particular time, it was great for me because I needed to have operational knowledge, financial experience. So I learned all about P&Ls and, budgeting and profitability and how to drive business growth. And another kind of milestone that I can recall during that time is being able to help to develop and support a global sales and service team that resulted in providing revenue that generated a $10 million business unit across a wider organization, helping to drive top line growth and 20% year-over-year organic growth within that practice. And that was something that was super powerful for me to kind of have that opportunity to lead and to help with a team to manage all of that. But and also regarding just outside of just the benefit side, that leadership opportunity gave me an opportunity to have some insight and some C-suite attention around some more corporate strategic kind of initiatives, specifically regarding DEI. And I remember making a call to you, Carol, exactly when I was being asked and tapped on the shoulder. I had thoughts and opinions about certain things that were kind of happening, the climate at that time. This was right during the pandemic, and I was just curious to know how we were going to navigate this as a company. And so I was asked, well, what are your thoughts on DEI? So I was like, well, let me call my friend in HR, Carol, and to say, what do you think and how should I position this? And I remember you telling me, you know what, think of it from this perspective, having inclusion of thought, diversity of thought and experience, and thinking first from an inclusion mindset and how you bring different beliefs together. I needed you in that moment, and you were able to help me to navigate that. And that led to me assisting on different divisional committee chairs, providing organizational content that provided, impact and to drive change in the organization. So that was all great. And then we fast forward to 2023, and that was really a pivotal time for me when I decided to take that leap of faith and truly go into this entrepreneurship realm that I am, and launching Worldview Benefits Advisors. And, it goes back to the basics for me. And so I had to do a check-in. This was a revelation moment for me. I had to check in with myself and figure out how was I going to be able to tap into and leverage more of my unique skills, gifts, and talents in a way that was more fulfilling for me.
Absolutely.
And so I decided that I wanted to get back to the basics of what I enjoyed at the start of my career. The company that I started with at the start was a boutique firm, and I enjoyed that personalized touch, interacting with clients. And so that is what the key focus of Worldview Benefits Advisors is. It's building close, meaningful connections with clients, vendors, partners all over the world and stateside, and providing that opportunity to drive meaningful change through workplaces.
Absolutely. It's all you. And I know your story is very well thought out and you've taken the necessary steps. And what I love about your story is you gained your knowledge, you understood it, and then you moved on to your next stepping stone.
Absolutely.
To the next level. And so I can appreciate there's one thing to be working through it. Then there's another thing to be a leader and be a manager. Then there's another thing to understand the core the business. Then there's another thing to understand the full comprehensive aspect of running a business.
Yes.
And then finally, those relationships that we build with C-suite and executives to build trust, to build understanding, and to have individuals that trust you and will advocate for you, whether you stay within corporate America or you decide to do what you've done, which is extremely courageous. It takes a lot to go and make a decision to step out on your own, but leveraging all those relationships of all the people that we know. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of that journey. Definitely. And listening to me. I can remember where I was. I was actually sitting in my car in my driveway. So y'all, you can call me anytime, but wherever it is, I'm there for you, definitely. Okay, so thank you so much for that. So we're going to move on to question 4, y'all. So we're going to what professional skills from your corporate experience equipped you with the tools to succeed as a business owner? That's
such a great question, and I want to dovetail as to what you just mentioned about relationship building. Everyone knows, whether you're in sales or you're consulting or owning a business, it really delves into having those meaningful connections with people, building authentic, relationships with them, based around just trust and respect and wanting to provide service. So that's something that has carried with me. I've carried with me throughout my entire career, and has served me very well, having kind of like that service mindset, but just meeting people where they're at and just trying to have just an authentic rapport with them. Having a consultative mindset is also something that's super important. Being a consultant, by trade, how my brain operates and how I think about things very strategically, that has definitely helped me. There are a number of decisions I'm having to make on a day-to-day basis as a business owner, and so I'm having to wear multiple hats, but thinking through things in the most strategic manner as I possibly can to how this business is going to continue to grow and thrive and succeed. Another element is also being able to have a plan and being thoughtful, and you mentioned that as well. I consider myself to be
I wasn't reading her notes, I promise y'all. I wasn't reading her notes. This is just organic.
It is, but I'm happy that that makes sense, because it just aligns. And I think having a thoughtful approach, being able to think through things, is important. And one thing that I will say, while you can have a plan, it's also best to also be aware and mindful of what's happening. My very first supervisor at my first company, he told me as a consultant, the best trait you can have is being a great active listener. We could go into a meeting with a full agenda, a host of recommendations, and all these solutions, but by the time we get into that meeting, the client's needs may have changed. And so we could have maybe blown that entire relationship or a meeting if we don't take the time to actually just check in that moment and ask, what's going on right now? And being able to pivot around that, which leads me into my next kind of skill set, which is nimbleness, flexibility. Again, no day is the same, we like to say, on the international side, and as a business owner. There's so many moving pieces. We've joked around with some things we've been challenged with ourselves as business owner. You got to kind of keep it moving, and taking it for what it is. And I think having having a background in change management and just understanding how to navigate certain situations is also been something that's been super important. And I think lastly, communication. In my career, I've worked with so many people across so many different nationalities and cultures. And so literally communication has been the main, lifeline that we have to be able to connect, and to collaborate together. And so being able to effectively do that has definitely been something as an entrepreneur that I've leaned into as well.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Yes. I absolutely, you got my vote. No, look, was she running the
Voting
campaign?
season.
Yeah, you got my vote. No, so I will tell you that even the last component you just talked about is with that global aspect, the cultures, the different cultures and the way they do business. I remember navigating through that. And these are things that you learn along your career, but there are absolutely tools and resources that help you understand and doing your homework, understanding cultures, understanding their needs so that you can pivot when you go into the meetings. I still keep telling that story. I went to Mexico City, and went into the meeting. But before I went into the meeting, the one thing we know is that you don't start your meetings promptly and move right into the agenda.
Absolutely.
Right? If you understand them, you understand that family is important to them, how they're doing their day before, what they're doing afterwards, and also breaking bread, having a little bit of a meal, having some tea with them. And so maybe your meeting was scheduled to start at 10, but you're probably going to get kicked off at about 10:35, 10:45. And it was absolutely amazing because the way that we eased into that, you could pick up on the cues of what they needed, what was important to them, and more importantly, just had an amazing relationship at the end of that. So you picked up on so many great things. We can keep unpacking that, but I know we only have like 30 minutes together, but we're going to keep going definitely. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So now, y'all, we're going to move to Brea's next question. So you recently delivered 3 freaking amazing keynote sessions at the HR Houston Gulf Coast Symposium and the Texas SHRM Global Conference on Navigating an Uncertain World and Global Mobility, as well as benefit integration. So tell my audience, what are some of the biggest challenges you see in the benefits industry today, and how is your company addressing them?
Great question again, Carol. Thank you for asking. Yes, I have been doing a number of speaking engagements lately, which is great because it kind of helps me and my team kind of stay abreast of what's happening in the industry. When we go to these, speaking events, we're learning as well. We're presenting information. There are a few things that, we wanted to speak upon at these different events, one of which is around global compliance and the regulatory complexities it is in doing business abroad and providing a total rewards package to your employees. And so from a regulatory compliance perspective, there's always different regulations and laws that are being passed. The Middle East is one of the most highly regulatory environments that I've seen throughout my career. I'll never forget, years ago, there was a law passed in the UAE on a Thursday at the end of that work week. By Monday, everyone needed to be in compliance. And so we were like making phone calls, like, what do we need to do?
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things that we assist clients with. Do you have locally compliant solutions for your international population, whether those are expatriates, individuals that are traveling overseas for a longer period of time and are going to be residing there for a while, for your local residents, your local nationals, even foreign visitors and travelers. Just in this last week, we had to help a client navigate a situation in Oman. Oman just came out with, just a couple weeks ago, their new mandate around healthcare coverage and a new portal system where you have to upload information regarding do these individuals have locally compliant coverage, and the insurers have that onus on them to upload information to this portal system. And if they don't, if someone goes to the hospital, the provider will be able to see you're actually not in the system. Come again when your employer has that in place for you. So not only is there that their aspect of maybe not being able to access care appropriately, there are financial penalties involved in a lot of markets where if you're not providing the coverage that's needed, that requires an admitted insurer, there can be a financial burden to the company. Outside of compliance, just providing that market competitive coverage to international employees. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's what we talked about in one of our latest presentations, in the fact that, you have so many different types of individuals that are traveling around the world working for you, and they all have different needs. And so it's really identifying with the client, okay, what type of, assignees do you have? Do you have expatriates? Do you have travelers? Do you have these global nomads that are out in the world right now that we refer to as like career expats? They don't want to stop their expat assignments. These are some luxury assignments that they can get to go on, and they get some nice nice uplifts and allowances.
Yes.
And but you need to identify what type of classes of employees that you have, and making sure that the benefit package that you have for them is tailored to meet their needs. Sometimes companies can maybe duplicate coverage unnecessarily, or on the flip side, they can have gaps in coverage, which can also be a concern. And that kind of leads us into the conversation around cost effectiveness. So we do like to do kind of a due diligence around, what are the plans you have in place for what population, and then what's the cost of these programs, and does this align with your corporate objectives and your budget needs, and do you need to make some considerations, some changes? Are you providing what we like to call first dollar coverage, which is 0%, $0 deductible, and no out-of-pocket expenses? In a lot of countries, with third country nationals especially, they have socialized health care, and so they're not used to paying out-of-pocket, but to layer on top of that sometimes may or may not be appropriate. So those are all just great considerations. And I will say that with expats especially, we've seen in the last several years, there is a 40% failure rate for assignments that are not ending successfully. So just think about the fact that employers are spending so much money, up to 3 times the cost of someone's salary. That could be anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million for a single person going on an assignment. That's a huge cost investment. And so we take that very seriously when we want to educate employers and help them to understand that they need to have locally compliant coverage that's cost effective, market competitive, so they can have those successful international assignments.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, bravo on making sure you touch on all those areas. I even remember I was offered an expat assignment to Brazil. I know, so we're learning. And I so wanted to, the timing was not exactly for me, but I remember that. But I also an HR professional being offered an expat assignment. And so I knew all of those items, the checklist that you just ran down. I knew that was important. And I also knew, and unfortunately, even in today, even a decade ago, 2 decades ago, that failure rate of expat assignments were always top of mind. And so pre-planning, understanding that, and making sure you do the risk assessment, cost effective, really coming to the leadership who wants to do business and operate in those countries and laying that out for them. Bravo, right? It gives them the insight so they can continue to move forward, and they can also focus on humans as well as the business.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's all about the people.
All about the people, definitely. Okay. So now we're kind of coming into the home plate, but can you discuss a recent project or initiative at Worldview Benefit Advisors that you are particularly proud of?
Yes, I am. And so a lot of our kind of approach at Worldview Benefit Advisors is assisting the brokerage community. And so that involves U.S. consulting firms and brokerage houses that may have some clients that have international activity, and maybe they've been managing it for some time, but they really need a true specialist and an expert in the field to come in and assist. So I had a domestic consultant reach out to us and said, we have this client that's really having some difficulties. They're expanding abroad, and they just really have a very decentralized approach, and we want to be able to have Worldview Benefit Advisors assist us in helping them navigate how they can provide a government or governance framework around their benefits and their protocol. So, we realized that they did have a decentralized approach. They didn't have enough reporting. There was not enough insight and oversight from the corporate office as to what was happening at the local level. They were getting, we call policy renewals that were coming in at the 11th hour. They didn't know why costs were going up and if it was the necessary coverage that their employees were needing all around the world. So we did a due diligence exercise and just did an inventory, a data gathering exercise to figure out what they had in place and where their pain points were, and really had to kind of lay out a framework for making sure that everyone understood the roles and responsibilities from an HR perspective. Corporate HR, the headquartered location wanted to ensure they had all of the line of sight. At the local level, the HRBPs, the human resources, business partners, they were managing the day-to-day aspects of the employee benefit plans. And then we had our local consultants on the ground that were assisting and acting as an extension as us, as the global broker, to ensure that what was being provided was effective, low locally compliant, and whatnot. And so we essentially help them to really come together and to help them successfully manage about 40 benefit policies that was across 16 countries, touching 800 global assignees. We created a lot more streamlined reporting for them. We put some multinational pooling in place to help them to leverage economies of scale. We helped them to kind of understand where they had redundancies in certain areas. They had, an overlap in some of the vendor relationships that were unnecessary, and really, just like I said, just giving the corporate office just that reassurance that what they were providing met where they were looking to be in the marketplace, which was a key employer providing, 90th percentile level of coverage and helping them to navigate through that. So that was a successful partnership that we had, and we're able to successfully execute upon that.
Bravo, bravo. Look, let me tell you guys, that is some work to do, but it's like when you provide those thorough and comprehensive evaluations and you provide businesses with insight, again, it's only a plus for all of us, whether HRBPs, whether it be business leaders, whether it be those humans that are going in and tackling that head on. All of that is amazing, and thank you for providing those services. And I remember they were boutique firms or whatever, and I can appreciate those individuals that poured into us so that we could be doing what we're doing today. All right, so here we go. So just a couple more. So, Briea, we know that well-being continues to be the trend as one of the most important and popular topics in 2024. We know how important that is. We also know that I had taken a look and I had some statistics. There was a report that was actually put out in 2024 by Employee Benefits Trends survey by MetLife.
Okay.
And they said employees who are satisfied with their benefits and well-being, they're 1.6 times more likely to be productive, y'all. 1.5 times more likely to be engaged, and 1.5 times more likely to be loyal. So it is really, really important that we move through that. So now what I want to ask you for the question is, can you share some insight on companies and how they can better support the well-being of employees?
This is such an important topic, and I try to think of this for my own self personally and how I'm leading my organization. And I really do think that organizational success is truly tied into the well-being of your employees. I love that you led with data. I have a little bit more data. I want to layer on top of that. In HR, we love our data.
Yes, we
love
do.
our information.
Yes, we do. Y'all can come here for some data.
Resources. We want to be able to have that. So I actually read, SHRM puts out an annual State of the Workplace report. And so in their most recent report, they listed 5 critical issues that HR departments are facing for this year. And one of the persistent things that they saw was persistent mental health challenges. About 2/3, 66 of HR professionals say employee mental health is a concern, second only to inflation. I mean, that's huge. And despite that, yet only 39% of organizations plan to increase mental health efforts this year. And just 35% of HR professionals said that their organization is effective at supporting employees with mental health concerns. And so one of the ways that we try to navigate through this and consulting around this is really looking at this from a holistic standpoint and an integrated approach. It's all about the employee's experience and engaging them through the process. So like well-being and even like inclusion and diversity shouldn't be something that's kind of like a separate,
number 3.
Yes, no, it should be truly integrated into the overall experience for the employees. And so there's a series of questions that you normally can ask, at the company and posing some of these questions directly to leadership. One of which is, could your leadership team be more accountable for the environments that they're creating? Employee well-being has been very more commonly shared responsibility. So the employees definitely have a responsibility to do their part. But as the employer, there really is a need to create an environment that is supportive to fostering a positive work environment for them. And we know that workplace stress can be a very big factor for people's well-being. And so, there's a growing amount of knowledge that people do have, underlying stress and anxiety. One of the vendor partners that I feel is leading in this field that we work with is Workplace Options, WPO. And they, have started, providing this terminology that I learned about just in this last year about psychological safety. And the fact that you can identify certain risk factors that you can move and mitigate yourself away from that into being in a successful environment as an employer. So are you providing an environment that is hostile, that is toxic, or is it something that is going to be more positive and harmonious? Do you have high demands and turnaround times that are just unreasonable? Are you providing opportunities for people to be able to collaborate and be able to have time and energy to focus? All of those things, when you look at those different levers, depending upon where a client or a company can be on their journey, it's important to evaluate that. Where are you at? What is your overall workplace, kind of environment? What are your business objectives? Because again, at the end of the day, it needs to be integrated. And it takes that top-down approach. We all know if there's any key change happening at a company, the executive team has to be on board, and we got to be able to filter that through.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you mentioned I've worked with WPO and love that. And then psychological safety. Everybody take these buzzwords. These are ones that are not just buzzwords, and they're not just bell bottoms and fads. These are really important as we continue with the demands, and we're asking for our employees to be more strategic. We're also incorporating AI, all those things that we're asking from our humans in the workplace. These are two of the top things that are truly important. My final serious question for you is, do you have a mantra or a rule that you live by?
I actually do, and I have a few, if you don't mind me sharing.
I don't mind.
One of them is actually a quote, or a quote by the poet Maya Angelou, and it's something that probably a lot of people have heard. And it said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And that quote actually reminded me of you, Carol. I really do think that you have this light about you, and no matter how long it's been in terms of times we've communicated or haven't, when I think about the last time I've spoken to you or things in my career when I've reached out to you for help or guidance or assistance, I thought about how you made me feel. And that was something that I really appreciate, and something that I want to put back into other people, being uplifting, being feeling heard and seen, and like I said, just exuding positivity. And so, like I said, at the start of me launching this company, there've been so many people that, it's been so many years I haven't talked to them. And once I put out my announcement that I was launching this company, I've received such an outpouring of love and support, where people would be like, "Oh my God, I remember we worked on this project together, and we were doing this, and we did that, and remember the interaction that we had." And that's something that I'm leaning into as I, growing this company with Worldview Benefits Advisors. Is really about, how we can service other people, and really being mindful of having those authentic relationships. It's super important. The other one is a quote that I actually have hanging in my office, and I see it above my desk every day that I sign on. And it says, "True confidence is about being completely at peace with yourself." And that goes back to that revelation that I had in 2023, and understanding what my unique skills and gifts are, and authentically showing up as my best self every day, and striving to do the best that I can, and being confident within that. And then the last one is a quote that I heard that says, "Life is about the journey, not the destination." And so that, as working professionals, I know that we're always so fixated and maybe hyper-focused on deadlines, and we get that tunnel vision half the time. But sometimes it's about truly being present in the moment, and recognizing growth along the way, and being, so appreciative and aware of the journey that we're all on. And that's something that served me very well.
Very good. All of those are amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. And I can tell that when you can tell that someone feels that in their heart and their soul. I lead with heart. People say I'm emotional. I know. Thank you so much for, the such kind feedback.
Of course.
But I think it's really important to have those rules to live by, and a mantra.
Absolutely.
And so I just encourage people to do that. And it's amazing how on your not so good days, how you can go back to those, and it gives you reassurance.
It's human resources. It's all about the human connection.
Absolutely.
Human.
Yeah, human. Definitely. We got that going. So,
yes.
All right. So now, I think you have given some amazing, amazing advice. So I'm hoping that all of the people who are going to be tuning in, they're going to know that. But now what I want to do is I am going to switch gears for just a quick few minutes, and we're going to conclude our interview with some fun. Because after all, I am your author with a freaking sense of humor, right? So I'm going to ask you 10 rapid fire questions. Briea has not, she doesn't know these questions, you guys. So we're going to go and just give them some fun and to get to know you just a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Let's go.
Here we go. So, airplane or cruise?
Ooh, yacht.
You know how they ebb and flow. So kind of like a cruise, so it's more water. So that's
a little luxury.
Yes, absolutely,
you know,
you're right.
I'm gonna get there eventually.
Yes,
but, maybe there's a helicopter pad.
Absolutely, and I know which cruise line we're talking about. I don't want the big cruise ship. I want that smaller, more luxury. You're right.
More boutique
yes,
experience.
Yes, the boutique. I was about to say bougie, but okay.
That too,
no, the boutique
we're
and
open.
bougie. We're open to any interpretation. Okay, next one.
Okay.
Hulu or Netflix?
Hulu.
Okay, me too.
That's the go-to.
That app is open right now on my phone.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to go and watch something in the car when I get home. I watch Hulu in the car.
I know. We stream everything now.
And not when the car's moving.
No, safety first.
This is when I'm, sitting in the parking lot, y'all. So no,
you don't even have to get our car insurance involved.
All right, y'all. So home cooked meal or fine dining?
Oh. Honestly, a home cooked meal. Now, I may not be cooking that home cooked meal all the time, but I just love, it's about fellowship. When I think of a home cooked meal, I just think of the sitting down, enjoying it, being present in the moment, fellowshipping. My mom actually comes from a large family. She's the youngest of 12 kids. Woo! So think about all of the aunts, uncles, cousins. So when I think about home cooked meals, it just brings, happy moments, memories. Yes.
Me too. But I like them both, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge you, definitely. Okay, a brisk walk or a run?
Nowadays, a brisk walk.
Okay, that's all right. I'm not mad at you. And it is fall.
That's true.
It's going to be brisk
pleasant
when you go. Pleasant.
Yeah.
I used to run, but I can't do much of that anymore.
Now, I do run after a toddler. So, that kind of comes in. Exactly.
That counts, definitely. Okay. Books or movies?
Audiobooks.
Okay.
I am into audiobooks right now. I'm such an inquisitive person, and I love to learn about so many different things. And so, and as a part of just growing and developing as a person, I'm always wanting to hear. So, having a physical book, sometimes for me, that can be more of bedtime reading material. But if I can listen to it while I'm on a brisk walk or driving or traveling, that's something that I've enjoyed.
Well, that comes from the business we come to, because we are taking in information all the time. And so I'm a lifelong learner. I don't know about you.
Yes,
definitely.
I saw you've been putting some out some good content
absolutely.
for us to review.
I'm reading some books. We're going to talk about that at the end. Okay, DIY or hire an expert?
Thankfully, my husband is very good with getting things done. So usually I'm leveraging his expertise. We have a nice little honey-do list going. And so, but when we need to call in experts, but I would say generally speaking, I kind of allow him to kind of excel in that arena.
Very good, very good. Okay, golf or tennis?
Ooh, so I've actually, to be completely honest, up until maybe a few months ago, swung my first
I saw you.
at the course. I looked the part. I had my shoes and everything else. But I've actually never played either sport. I would love to learn.
Okay.
I've watched them, and so that's something that I would love to be able to learn. Okay. Again, my mom loves tennis, and one day I would love to be able to take her to the U.S. Open.
Yes.
But yes, I've not done either. But I know in the state of Texas, we can, the weather, when it gets about right, you can enjoy both. We have a beautiful golf course all around the world too. So yes, I would love to try both.
Well, Bobby and I have
Yes.
been to the U.S. Open.
Oh,
and
there we go.
It was an experience.
I'm sure.
It was on our bucket list,
Okay.
between U.S. Open, Kentucky Derby, so
Yes,
you've got
check out
to,
that.
you've got to put it on the list. Put it
Okay.
on the list. Okay.
Things to look forward to.
So play it safe or take a risk.
It depends on the day.
I know.
It depends on the day, but I have learned every time in my life where I've taken a risk, it's been worth it.
Oh, very good.
I've had, hesitations. I've had so many thoughts about, oh my God, is this the right decision, both personally and professionally? Every time I've taken a risk or taken that leap of faith, it's always been worth it.
Very good.
Yes.
I love it, Briea.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay,
Yes.
we got 2 more left.
Okay.
Superpower. Is it mind reading or is it see the future?
Ooh. Let's go with mind reading. I think the future, who knows what the future holds, and sometimes we look too far ahead. I'm like, oh goodness,
Yes,
I'm good.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of good to just, like I said, I'm an inquisitive person,
Yeah.
so I think it would be kind of interesting to just kind of know like, what's really going on.
Here? Watch out, Rodney. Definitely. All right, y'all. The last.
What about you? What would you prefer?
So I actually, I'm. Now that I'm a woman of certain age, I kind of like to see the future,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But I've lived an amazing life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And my children are,
Yes.
grown, and I have my grandbaby,
Yes.
and I have my amazing husband.
Yeah.
He paid me for that, y'all. But nonetheless, he did not. I married the man of my dreams, as I said on my first podcast.
Yes.
So
We love Bobby.
love it. So
Yeah.
I would say see the future.
Okay.
But
Got it.
our last one, which is flowers or candy.
Flowers. Yes.
I'm giving a cue.
Yeah. I do enjoy them, and my husband is just really sweet. Always seems to provide that. My dad as well set a very good set of tone. He delivers flowers still on Valentine's Day, and so that is something that I love. Just loving having them in the home, just around. So yes, flowers.
Absolutely. Well, good. So, wow, y'all. I am so grateful for Briea. And with that said, I want to end our interview by giving her flowers and congratulating you on your new firm, Worldview Benefits Advisors. And so I didn't know your answer was going to be flowers, but it's important that we give people flowers all the time and not wait for someone to be ill or those type of things.
True.
So I'm so glad and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you,
and
Carol.
all that you have done. Definitely.
Oh my goodness,
So
I
thank
appreciate you so much
for joining me.
Yes.
So, but before we go, although it was amazing time with Briea, I promise to wrap up each show with hot topics on my next guest, my next speaking engagement, my upcoming events, my recommended great reads like Briea was talking about. So what's on the calendar today and in the near future? I'm so glad you asked. I'm proud to share that I will be the moderator at the Women's Health Symposium on October 17th, hosted by the Dallas-Fort Worth Business Group on Health. So you can go on over to dfwbgh.org to register for that one-day event here in DFW area if you're in town. And then you can head on over, like Briea said, to LinkedIn and my featured page for some great reads and book recommendations. I have a little segment that I'm doing entitled, What Are You Reading? Now, this is not audio, it's me actually recording a couple of videos, and I just finished Making Work Human, and now I'm reading Management Mess to Leadership Success, okay? Now, finally, the HR Southwest Conference is being held on October 13th through the 16th at the Fort Worth Convention Center. And it is being coined the don't miss event of the fall season, all right? And then as we move into the holiday season, which is right around the corner, I'm working on something special with a special guest who we all love and have watched grow up in front of our eyes. So I'm not gonna give it away, but I am so excited about this freaking incredible and professional and creative. You know, they call it people creatives now. So stay tuned because you don't want to miss that episode. So, y'all, that's my time. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun, Briea?
Absolutely, it does.
So what I want to say to you is until next time, please remember to click, like, share, and subscribe to all my socials. Head on over to Brea's page as well.
Yes.
And remember, after all, we are all freaking amazing humans. Bye for now.